Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the BODcast with Alli and Chris. I'm Alli.
I'm Chris.
And this is Phil Cox, our distinguished guest today that I'm super excited to have him on. We got introduced in 2016 by a friend of mine and a company that you were working with to do some PR for Silver Fern, your company. And
Yep.
I really loved what you were doing then. And things kind of just settled down. I think you changed your product lineup and things shifted around with your C-level executives. And then you reemerged this better and, better for it, better lineup Silver Fern brand. I'm happy to be reacquainted with you. And I'm loving all the direction that we're both going in now. And so I'm really excited about having you on our podcast today because you're the first person in the entire gut health space that's talking about utilizing it for weight loss.
Right.
We had Kiran Krishnan on in October, and he was educating us on LPS and the gut brain axis and all of that.
Yep.
Super important. Loved all of that, but you're taking it in a different direction, which I love and is in alignment with BOD and with my values with regard to clients and getting them long-term success. So I really wanted to not only say thank you for being here and taking the time between Christmas and New Year's, which can be hectic for a lot of people. It's definitely usually hectic for me.
Yeah, trying to shove family and work into the same space is really busy.
It's been a brutal week, to say the least. But so I'm happy that you're here, but I really want to start with your journey because I think that your fitness journey speaks to a lot of Americans. It feels very typical to me and a lot of the same frustrations that they've gone through. So if you could just start from the beginning for us and share with us where you've been and what you've tried and where you are now and what's working.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I can cover that. So my background, I grew up being in athletics, right? So I grew up wrestling. So I'd go from football season to wrestling season, right? And what that means is you go from eating as much as you possibly can to put on size to cutting as much weight as possible so that you can get down to weight. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So by the time I was in college, when Tiffany and I got married, I was lean, right? I leaned 220 pounds. I was fit, like I could see ab muscles and stuff like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Tiffany and I got married in life. I went into graduate school and stuff like that. And then I found that I struggled with weight gain after that. And the more kids we had and the more time went by, the harder it was for me to lose weight. We started Silver Fern initially because Tiffany likes health a lot. I like health, but I struggle with weight gain. Like I really struggle with it. So what I did was I tried every diet you can think of. I've tried Weight Watchers. I tried Nutrisystem. I've tried the South Beach diet, the Atkins diet, the high protein, low carb diet. I've tried phentermine. I think I've covered almost all of them somewhere in there. Mm-hmm. The problem is let's take like a low sugar diet. Let's just say a sugar-free diet, something, right? Or just take the average person that goes into a health program. Mm-hmm. So let's say that a person starts in January and their New Year's goal is to lose weight. So what's going to happen with them is they are going to start with, or me at least. So I'd start cutting sugars. I would increase all the healthy food. I'd go about 2 or 3 weeks. I'd get hangry. I'd get sugar cravings. I could muscle through it, meaning I grew up basically with wrestling, starving myself. So, I can handle 3 to 6 months of anything. Mm-hmm. So what I was doing is I was starving myself or doing some intense, strict diet from January through March. As soon as I wanted to start living normal again, I would put on, I'd start gaining weight back. Phentermine was very interesting because the results are so fast, right? So you lose weight really fast, then you gain it all back. But the weight loss part of it is fantastic because it like you all of a sudden just don't have a diet or an appetite. Like it's just gone. Right. Your energy goes through the roof, your appetite drops. So that's great for about 6 months, and then it stops working very well, right?
Yeah.
And then when they take you off of it, you start to gain your weight back.
Yeah.
So when I started, let's call it with this concept, I had gut health issues, which I didn't think were severe, just I had heartburn, food intolerances, like a shot immune system, stuff like that, right?
Typical stuff people experience.
Yeah,
just big deal.
Yeah, just normal stuff that people are taking like antacids for or digestive enzymes for. So I started there as I was trying to get my gut health going. And over a period of time, what I found was that just nothing was working. I mean, that's just the simple answer is that nothing worked. So, and with the gut health focus, I actually was talking to Karan and our dietitians that we have. And I was like, so imagine that you're somebody like me who is busy as hell, doesn't have a ton of time. We have multiple businesses. The only time Tiffany and I have to work out is from like we get up at 4:30 every morning. We're at the gym at 5 a.m. and we're out of there by 6:45 because I got to go take kids to school. We've got 5 kids in 4 schools, and it's all over the damn place. So we're everywhere, right? So I needed a program. This is just me, that I needed to address the problems I had, which was I needed to have something that helped me not crave bad foods. I had I am also a foodie, Alli, you know that. Yeah. I love food. So I love food. And I don't necessarily like all healthy food. So I like desserts. I like pastries. I like ice cream. I like candy.
Can you relate to any of that, Chris?
A little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit.
So yeah. So I mean, I like that stuff. And when I went to our science team, I was like, listen, I can't do extreme. It literally just does not work for me. I don't want to, and I'm just saying this for me, Alli. I didn't want to track anything, chase anything, count anything. I just couldn't do it. I've tried the macro diet. I just tracking and counting with my schedule. I was like, so what I went in with was this concept of like, I have to have it be not ridiculously strict. I need to change my cravings, my appetite, my metabolism, right? And I don't have an issue working out. Working out for me is a stress relief. So I enjoy working out. That's not a problem, but I don't have 3 hours to work out. One thing I have learned, my wife and I go to this gym, and it is like Instagram, Facebook central for fitness people, right? And one of the things I've realized is that a lot of these people that are ultra fit, they're in that gym for 3 hours plus a day. So they have these programs that they're like, here, find balance in your life. And they'll say that, and they'll say, here's a 45-minute program. They're working out for 3+ hours a day, but here's a 45-minute program. And then they'll say stuff like, and here's your diet program. And by the way, I am a normal eater. I enjoy desserts occasionally. And that is total crap. How do I know that? Because my wife and I go to dinner with them all the time, right? So they'll get like a cookie and they'll eat that amount of the cookie. I was like, why are you doing this? Yeah, like it's just miserable. I'm like, that sucks. So our team came up with some. So what I learned basically was that I'd missed a critical piece of weight loss. What Karan and Acacia and the team taught me was they're like, Phil, dieting as you think of it is not quite correct. And if you change what you crave and you change your appetite, so you're not hungry all the time, like you're not restricting, you're not saying no, you just don't need it, right? Like it's almost like somebody took your stomach and just shrunk it.
Yep.
and with no surgical procedures. and then if your metabolism's working, they said, how much easier would it be for you to work out if you were seeing results? And I was like, what do you mean? And they're like, well, you lift all the time, right? And I'm like, oh yeah, I lift a lot. And they said, but how better do you look when you start looking like this instead of like this?
Mm-hmm.
And how much better do you feel when you start seeing muscle definition? Like your drive for exercise will improve when you actually see something from it, right?
Right.
And they're like, it's not that I wasn't big, and it wasn't that I wasn't strong and stuff like that. The issue was that I couldn't see the muscle definition because it was covered in this layer of unhealthiness, I guess you'd call it. Okay. So I started in April of this year. I cleared up my gut issues. So I had already had a program to clean up the heartburn and acid reflux and food intolerances, and I wasn't constipated. I didn't have diarrhea. My stomach was in good shape, but I just had, I call it a food addiction, if you could, right? Which is where if I were stressed, I'd go to food. If I were happy, I'd go to food. If I was celebrating, food. If I was down, food. Just like that was my go-to place, right? So food was my alcohol for some people, right? So so what Cron put me on was we customized the program for me. I was like hey, let's make this work. Let's get your weight off and let's keep it off forever, and let's make it easy for you, right? Yeah. So we focused on a gut health program with probiotics and prebiotics, and then he put in play certain lifestyle changes that were conducive to good bacteria, right?
Tell us about some of those too.
So here's one for you. So, I mentioned I've tried every diet ever. So I've tried intermittent fasting for weight loss. I didn't do crap. It may work for some people. It didn't work for me, right? Mm-hmm. And I could do it easily. Remember, I've got a past history of starving myself. So skipping meals, no problem. But it just didn't work. And to be honest, it was kind of miserable. So the lifestyle changes that Cron had me put into play were, and I guess a lot was acacia actually, but was very balanced. So I started off with, they started me on an 80-20 eating lifestyle. So instead of saying no, hey, Phil, you can't have the desserts. Hey, go off sugar, stop eating hamburgers, stop eating pizza, stop eating everything you like to eat. They said, do that. Just save it for a period of time during the week, like save it for a window. And I was like, oh, okay. They're like, we're going to have you do a kind of I call it an 80-20, but it's more like an 80-15-5. Okay. So 80% of the time I eat clean. And I didn't enjoy that to begin with. I'll get to how that changed, but that sucked to begin with. The 15% was eating moderate, which means I was eating more of what I wanted, but I was still adding in fruits and vegetables and protein, lean proteins. It was kind of more moderate. So Monday through Friday, I was eating clean. I had a super simple diet. I was eating healthier, right? Mm-hmm. And then on the weekends, I'm going to use the word binge, but you can call it whatever you want to make it more kosher for everybody. I'd have a eating window that I would eat damn near anything I wanted. Like, so if I was craving Thai food with donuts and ice cream, I'd literally go to a restaurant and then I'd have 3 desserts afterwards, like literally go to 3 different locations. And people thought I must have been like trying to get to diabetes fast, because all they would see is a dinner and 3 dessert posts, right?
Yeah.
And I'd eat during that window and it would slap me upside the head. And I was like, oh wow. But I loved it. I enjoyed it. Remember, I was a food addict. Mm-hmm. And then the rest of the weekend, I'd be kind of moderate, meaning I wasn't eating sugars or anything like that, but I would have more of healthier snacks. I would move into my diet. So it's kind of a moderate in the 15% area, right? Mm-hmm. And it took about week 4, I started. Oh, let me go back. So the 80-20 was part of it. The intermittent fasting, Cron had me intermittent fasting for 5, sometimes 6 days a week, depending on the week, right? And I like breakfast, so I ate a huge breakfast, I ate a snack, and I ate a huge late lunch. So Tiff and I are up early, so I'm eating breakfast at about 7:30. I'm eating lunch or a snack at about 10:30 to 11:30, and then I eat a massive lunch at like 3. Okay. And then I don't eat the rest of the day. And it's those foods, those meals are like loaded in vegetables. They're loaded in lean protein. I love pancakes, so I found a really healthy way to make pancakes that were super healthy, loaded in like chia seeds and all the fiber stuff I'm supposed to be adding into it, stuff like that. So I literally came up with something that I enjoy eating and I love it, and it's really good for me. So my post meal for a workout is huge. It's like I have a huge smoothie, right, with fruits and vegetables and protein powder and fiber. I flaxseed meal, all kinds of good stuff in it, bananas, and just everything. So I have that. I have and then I have scrambled eggs because I grew up on a ranch. I like eggs, so I had eggs, but I started adding in tons of vegetables into it, so it was more like an omelet, right? So it was, I mean, we're talking asparagus, peppers, onions, tomatoes. I mean, I have my omelet is loaded with vegetables, right? So I'm eating that, and then I'm full. I'm slam silly full. I take my supplements at that time. I have a healthier lunch, which for me is like apples or dried mangoes or just whatever. And I'm not counting anything. So I have no clue how many calories is in breakfast, lunch, or late lunch. And then I have a big lunch. And for me, since I'm a pancake lover, I make pancakes. I take 2 big stacks of pancakes in for lunch, and they're super clean. And I love them, and I still cover them in honey and cinnamon and sugar, and I freaking love them, and it works. So I do that. The intermittent fasting is not for weight loss; it's for changing your gut bacteria composition. Just to clarify, that's why you do intermittent fasting, not for weight loss, but to manage your bacteria composition. Good bacteria do well in a fasted state. That's right. So I do that, and then I got rid of all artificial sweeteners. So pre-workouts, post-workouts, everything and anything that had sucralose in it or acesulfame potassium in it or any of that crap, I just I got rid of it. There you go. So what's that?
Do you use stevia or anything like that?
I do. I use stevia, sugar alcohols, but yeah. So yes, my protein powder has that. I have that for breakfast. I have a protein powder in the afternoon, like my lunch in the afternoon. I take a protein powder that's a stevia sweetened one. Okay. What I did find though, for me, this is just me speaking, I'd been doing the program for about 6-8 weeks, and I still found on the weekends I'd get horrible munchies. And so I was going through with Acacia, like, what is it that's causing that on the weekends and not Monday through Friday? And we found that it was the intense sweetened drinks I was taking. So I get these natural, sweetened drinks. And I thought, because it was like there's stevia and it wasn't sugar and all that. And it wasn't sucralose, and acesulfame potassium and aspartame. It was none of that stuff. And so I thought it was good, but the intense sweeteners were triggering cravings on the weekends. And so when I cut those sweetened drinks out, except for during my 20% window, my cravings went down. Okay. So I did that. I don't know that I really, I increased my fiber intake for me, eating healthy is not my favorite thing to do. So if you're a food addict, I know people show pretty pictures of vegetables, and I'm sure that's appealing to some people, but that used to just not even remotely interest me at all. Like when people be like, look at this salad. I'm like, you poor son of a bitch. I'm like, I was like, you are a starving person, and I feel so bad for you. And
you do that, right?
Yeah. And I because I didn't like vegetables at all. Like, the produce section of the grocery store was like, no, that ain't happening.
You avoided it.
Oh yeah. Like, just didn't, because I don't like that stuff. Right. Mm-hmm. But it was funny, within 8 weeks, I started craving fruits and vegetables. Like, it was really weird. Like I'd go in the produce section. I'd be like, Karan said to add in a variety of different produce. I've never tried that before. I'll just try it. And then by week 12, I was craving vegetables, and I didn't really care about the sugars anymore. It wasn't that I cut my weekend. I've always told myself, hey, I can eat whatever I want for that cheat meal. The problem is your appetite goes down, your cravings go down, so you're less passionate about it, is what happens, right?
That's a problem.
If you're a foodie and your account is all food-based, and all of a sudden you're like, I really don't know what I want this weekend. It's a little awkward. Like it's a little,
Sounds like it's a suddenly body though.
And suddenly Phil is posting pictures of salads.
Yeah, I haven't actually told my foodie audience that I'm healthy yet. But what? So there is that reckoning coming, which I'll have to do sometime, but not yet. So the funny thing is what I was instructed on is when we first started, they're like, Phil, do you want to lose weight or do you want to be fit? Those aren't the same thing.
Right.
And I was like, what do you mean? They're like, you ever see people that go on these diet and exercise, like these programs, and they go from looking chubby and happy to skinny and unhealthy, like almost frail, like they look like they just look unhealthy. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's not good. They're like, so when we say weight loss, we're actually, for me and for what we do, we're talking body composition change, right? Like we're not like so to be
too.
Yeah, so I've only lost 25 pounds, but I've dropped almost four pant sizes. So in the last 3 months, my weight's actually going up, my pant size is going down.
There we go.
And so it's really tough because people relate with weight loss, and that's not quite the program that I was taught on. The program I was taught on is you want to change your body composition type, right? So you want to lose body fat and you want to build muscle. So now what happens for me is when the body fat's coming off, and it's coming off pretty fast now, and I'm not counting anything, chasing. I'm just following that same simple program I mentioned to you. And I've had to simplify everything. I have a push day on exercising, I have a pull day, and I have a leg day. We're talking, I've had to the gym for me is one of the very few outlets I have where I can go and shut off, because the rest of my day is just complete chaos. Like from 7 a.m. until 10, it's like slam silly, right?
Lots of decisions to make.
Yeah, but weight loss, like if somebody were to say, so here's the data: 90% of weight loss programs do not work because within 3 to 5 years, people have gained the weight back. So 90% of people are going to gain the weight back. That screws most programs, right? Yep. 40% are actually going to gain more weight than what they had originally. So that's the data. The other data that's fascinating is if you go research it, find how many people on strict, like those really strict diets, that intensifies cravings.
So we're talking about like carnivore, vegan, elimination types of diets. Are you including with strict diets?
Yeah, so we're not big fans of food avoidance, right? There's certain things there's lifestyle changes people like because they have a philosophy on it, right? Like people are vegan for their own decisions, and I'm not opposed to vegan or vegetarian. I grew up on a cattle ranch, so I like meat, but I've changed my eating. I'm eating a lot more vegetables than I've ever eaten and fruits ever actually. But I crave that now, so it's easy because that's what I want, right?
Right.
Which, don't judge me, I would have mocked me a year ago at this time.
Definitely not judging.
Yeah. But yeah, I guess extreme is this. Extreme is I'm going to eat really high protein all day, and I'm going to take out all my carbs, right? And that's a perfect way to have kidney failure. That's just the data, right? Like that's just the science on it. So people that are just cranking protein all day and they're not getting in the appropriate prebiotics into their gut, goodbye kidneys. Yeah. So there's just imbalances are not good. Or people that are like, I'm going to eat all vegetables, no protein. I don't care where you get your protein source from. You still need protein, right? Like you still should focus on that. So Yeah, I'm not a big fan of extremes, right? I tried the keto thing. I tried the hype. I mean, me without carbs is not good. Tiffany is going to divorce me on the South Beach diet. Like, don't removing food from me or saying, Phil, don't eat sugar. Just don't eat sugar. You might as well say, hey, Phil, you really ought to go eat some sugar right now.
That's right.
It's not good. Like, it does not work. So what I have found right now, so take where I'm at right now. We're in the middle of the holidays.
Mhm.
Typically during this time of year, I am eating insane amounts of food because who doesn't like holiday food, right? Like,
Right? It's
I mean,
good.
oh my gosh, you got pumpkin cookies, you've got eggnog. We mix it with Sprite to make Christmas juice. There's just a million new ice cream flavors. The cookie flavors are insane right now with the chocolate pepper. I mean, it's all amazing right now. The problem is my appetite is like, and my cravings are like, and so except for like this weekend, I'll watch football games and I will literally say, okay, I'm going to eat what I want. The problem is now I have to almost like intentionally, I intentionally do it, but I haven't gained anything over the holidays, right? Like, and I'm still living normal, but my how I respond to food is different. So I don't gain weight. I don't have, so here's the funny thing. So I started pre-diabetic in April, okay? Which means my blood sugar levels were too high. My health markers were all off. High cholesterol, high blood pressure, too much visceral fat, belly fat. And so when a doctor would go through and just check my everything, they'd be like, wow, you're in the wrong direction, right?
Yeah.
Right now when I go in, they think I'm like amazing. Blood pressure's crazy, perfect, like amazing right now. I look like a long distance runner. And so
I'm going to interrupt you really fast because I have a quick story about your probiotic to share that goes along with a client. So in 2016, I remember because I was standing in line to vote and a client called me and she said, my doctor is really concerned. I have high cholesterol, I'm pre-diabetic. They're checking for autoimmune disorders. My triglycerides are really high and my liver enzymes are crazy high. Alli, I don't want to go on medication. What do? I said, follow my meal plan, take this probiotic, which was a silver fern probiotic, and go exercise. Go here, I'll give you the workouts, go exercise. By Valentine's Day, all those numbers were back to normal, except for the liver enzymes, which were headed back down in the right direction. Everything else was fine.
I mean, the funny thing is everybody's right on the healthy eating and the exercising. People 100%, no questions asked, they need that. They have to have that. And I've never, I mean, I'm not one that's going to say, hey, you don't need to eat healthy to get fit. That's not true. I'm not going to say you don't need to exercise. That's just not true. All I've been trying to say is eating healthy is a million times easier when you crave it.
Yes.
When you dread it, it sucks to hell. When you dread it, when you look at a salad and you go, I would prefer to put a spike through my face as eat that. It's just miserable. Like you look at a salad and you're like, oh, somebody hates me. Like I'd
rather eat glass.
Yeah, you're like, I just don't want to do this. When you dread your food, you're eating healthy, which is very common for fat people, right? Like speaking as a former fat person and just being blunt. Taking food away from a fat person and sticking them on a very restrictive diet, hell, that doesn't make sense. That's like literally taking alcohol away from a person and shoving them in a bar. I mean, you're like, wait a minute, because the world is surrounded by desserts. It's surrounded by foods. And there's a fast food restaurant on every damn corner, everywhere in every city in the United States.
Yep.
In every checkout aisle at every grocery store.
Yeah. So unless you change your cravings, your healthy eating is going to be impossible long term. Yeah. And if you don't, and exercising is a million times easier and funner when you're like, holy hell, I have abs. Like when you can look in the mirror and go, I have a chest and abs and triceps and wow. Like, I mean, I can see muscle definition in my legs again, which is incredible, right? And but you know how exciting it is to exercise when you can see the muscles?
Yep.
It's like a million times better. You're like, wow, I can see this. Now this is fantastic. Exercise builds gut health. I don't know if you knew that, but exercise is actually a supporter of gut health. Obviously, eating fruits and vegetables supports gut health. So they all go in alignment. I mean, for a person to actually get in shape and be physical, from my just having gone from being not healthy to healthy this year in a very rapid adjust, like a change that I feel is easy now. It's like very sustainable. You have to address, like, you have healthy eating, big thing, right? Exercise. Like, a person has to have a program that works for them. And if you're 45 years old and I've had 5 shoulder surgeries, knee surgeries, ankle surgeries. I've got a bad back, bad elbow, bad wrist, you name it. I busted it growing up. Rugby, football, judo. I did everything. And so you need a program that works well for consistency, right? Like, going to a physical therapist and say, hey, who's your best source of clients? And they're going to go, oh, CrossFit all day long.
Yep.
All day long. They're going to be like, we love CrossFit groups. Like, we love those people. They send us so many people. So exercise, eating healthy is fantastic. Hormones, which we're not talking about today, but I'm speaking as a guy, but if you're 45 years old and you have low testosterone, good luck putting on muscle. Like, bye-bye. That ain't gonna happen. Like, it won't happen. So you have to have your testosterone in a normal place. If you've got thyroid issues, you're going to gain weight. I mean, that's just what it is.
Right. Women need the testosterone in the right place too.
Yeah. For burning fat too, not just building muscle.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I've studied it from the man side. Tiffany has Hashimoto. My wife has Hashimoto's and hypothyroidism or whatever. But she manages that well. Like, it doesn't affect her very much. Like, she
looks great.
Yeah, she's done great with it. But I mean, she used to have a lot of issues with it. Now she just doesn't. But so hormones, I don't know. I mean, I don't provide anything or suggest anything on hormones, because that they need to go to a hormone specialist on that. But people need to deal with hormones, and then people have to address gut health.
Well, the hormones are going to be related to the gut health too, since
100%.
so much of them are assimilated in the gut. So if that's messed up, then even if we go to a hormone specialist, it's still, as far as I'm concerned, if the gut isn't in the right place, we're just kind of throwing medication at a problem, and we're not actually able to really, like, get to the root cause of it, because if this is still messed up, then everything else is just going to be trying to put a Band-Aid on it. But if this is healthy, then whatever other issue we have is the best we can possibly make it be. Do you know what I mean?
100%.
If we still have a thyroid issue, then you're getting the right amount of medication, because we're not having to compensate for something that's already out of whack at the foundation. Right?
Yeah. I mean, the funny thing that I learned through this, I've learned over the last couple of years actually, but specifically that kind of hit me when I started the program in April. When Kron and Acacia were like, you're not focused on weight loss, you're focused on body composition change. Focus there. And I'm like, well, how do you measure that? If you're not tracking weight each week, they're like, track your pant size.
There you go.
And I was like, what? They're like, Phil, track your pant size. Track the loops, like your belt, right? Like, track where you're at in your weight. Like, track how your clothes fit every week. And I was like, oh. And they're like, because what's going to happen is when your gut is super dialed in, they're like, you're going to utilize nutrients at a whole different level. And they're like, you're going to gain more muscle. You're going to, I mean, obviously I'm bald, but like, this grows in crazy, hair growth. I mean, you notice a difference, right? So you're basically utilizing nutrition better. But for me, it's been the combination. So I didn't just do the gut health focus and then say, screw diet and exercise. I didn't do that. I am so damn busy tracking everything. Is just, for me, my wife, Tiffany, she loves tracking stuff. There's a whole gym full of people I'm around all morning long, and they like to track. And to be fair with that, and every other aspect of my life, tracking and reporting equals higher performance.
That's right.
That is the data. So I'm like today I did chest, shoulders, and tries. I go in, I go like a crazy man, and then I get out, right? And I'm not doing heavy cardio because I don't have the knees for it anymore, right? So I don't run. I'm not going to pound. I'm not going to box jump. I'm not going to do crazy stuff. I just don't have the joints for it anymore. But I can get in and move quick. And I mean, and it's something you notice, but the best thing about adding the gut health into the process is it feels sustainable, right? Like when you start craving, I mean, you want to talk weird. I mean, I'm just talking to fat people now. Alli, you're not going to understand this. Maybe Chris will. I don't know, Chris. I'm not going to judge you yet. But but if you're a fat person, you can't fathom ever wanting to eat healthy. You're just like, when is a salad actually ever going to taste good? Like, or they'll say, yeah, it's not bad. I'll eat a salad for lunch. But they know they want a burger. I mean, that's what they want. Right? Like what they want and what they're eating is different. When you change what you want, like when you want healthy, like when you crave vegetables, everything changes. Weight loss is, the whole concept is all different ball game.
Yeah, Chris, what do you? I'm sure you have something to say about that.
Oh yeah, no. Yeah, I think even yesterday I was like, I could use a bucket of Reese's peanut butter cups. That'd be great right about now. It's just something that it sits in your head that you just look at all the other food. You're like, I know I should eat this. I know I got to eat these vegetables. I know I got to have that shake. I know I've got to get these things to start changing and moving all these cravings from all this sugar heavy cravings into some other foods, but it doesn't click for you. It's like not there. There's no there in terms of like, I'm going to crave this salad the way that I crave these peanut butter cups. Come on, you're gaslighting me or something. This doesn't make sense. It just does not compute.
Dude, changing from, once again, don't judge me, anybody, but changing from like horrible candy, right? Like you know, gummy bears or the gummy frogs or the whatever, and or the Sour Patch Kids. Yeah, just changing cravings from that to like, oh my gosh, I really want that package of mixed dried fruit. It is a complete mind blower. When you go to the grocery store and you're like, I want dried fruit. Now Tiffany's like, oh geez almighty, don't just, holy crap. Because I still eat. I just am eating a different, I'm in the wrong aisle from where I've always been, right? Like it's
foreign territory.
It's actually what you said, right? But imagine that you're this time of year and you love Reese's, right? Peanut butter cups, which is obviously a good choice. But now imagine you just don't think of it because you just don't need it. Like it doesn't even come to mind. Like I used, like if you know me well, and Alli does pretty well because she follows me on my food account. But I mean, I literally I plan for food events. I'm not like a moderate planner. I am like a very dialed in planner. And to go from having that rip right off the top of my head, like I'm craving this and this and this and this and this, and shoving that into the window to like, I don't even know what I want right now. It's odd. You go into the ice cream aisle and you're like, I don't know what I want. And not because you're so excited you buy everything, which used to be the case, right? I'd be like,
you come out with two shopping bags full of candy and chips.
I have ordering anxiety issues where I feel like I'm going to miss out, like a fear of loss issue when I go into new restaurants. So I go in and I'm like, give me the top 3 favorite, like appetizers, 3 entrees, just give them to me. And they're like, here's the top 3, here's the top 3. I'm like, great, I'll take all of them. That's how I order. There you go. There's my secret for ordering food out. But now I just don't, like, I can't even eat it. I literally cannot consume it. So it works.
You know, I can actually relate a little bit because during the holidays, I've historically really enjoyed having the sweets, and I've made them. And when my mom and I used to make fudge, whoo boy, I would eat a lot of fudge. even earlier this year during Thanksgiving, when my daughter and I made these sugared pecans, these candied pecans, they were delicious. And I was like, God, I could eat a ton of these. And yet for Christmas Eve, I got up early and I made these peanut butter cookies with dark chocolate, Reese's inside, like thumbprint cookies, but with a Reese's in there. And I was like, ooh, I'm looking forward to having these. And they came out and I just kind of went, eh. My son dove in, had 2 of them. He was like, these are so good. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll try it. And I had them and I was like, I didn't feel like finishing it.
Yeah. For me, it's not that I don't enjoy it. Like, I mean, I'm in the holidays, right? So it's not like all of a sudden ice cream tastes bad. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying your favorite treats and snacks are going to taste bad. The Dorito chips aren't going to be appealing, or you're not going to enjoy them all of a sudden. It's that you just don't need them.
Yeah.
It's like, it's just different. It's like it's not that you don't enjoy food. It's just that you don't have that crazy inside drive to just eat everything, right? Like, and you don't, it doesn't come to mind. Like the food part of the holidays all of a sudden is less exciting than other aspects of the holidays, right? It's just weird. I'm not suggesting that people all of a sudden go sugar free, or it's just that you'll naturally just not eat as much sugar. You just won't want it, right? Like, and so go ahead.
What's the mechanism behind what happened for you there? Explain to everybody just a little bit about the gut bacteria, how that triggered those cravings, how fixing that has helped that, so that they can kind of start to make the connection between why it's important to address the gut health and why these food intolerances. Because just talking with you over the last couple of weeks, when you said, yeah, we can probably get rid of your gluten intolerance, Alli, I went, I will kiss you if you can do that. That'd be so
I'd take it. You're
wonderful.
No, so the easiest thing to describe on that is there are bacteria that crave unhealthy foods. Like you talked to Karan about the gut-brain axis, right?
Yep.
So bacteria in the gut ping your brain for what they want to be fed. That's where great cravings come from. So bacteria causes that, right? So if you've got a composition of bacteria that likes to eat unhealthy foods, you're going to eat unhealthy foods. Like that's why stopping eating it is so difficult. Right. You've got trillions of bacteria in your gut, and when the majority of those really want that Diet Coke, you're really going to want that Diet Coke. And so, in order to break that Diet Coke addiction, you're gonna have to change what you crave. That's it. So the other thing that was interesting is Acacia was teaching me on lean bacteria. Like literally, she's like, there are bacteria that when people don't have a high abundance of these bacteria, they're fat, they're overweight. And when people have a high abundance of these bacteria, they're lean. Like that's just the science. And I was like, so like hard science, or like, the science is going to change in 5-10 years. Yeah. Well, I'll give an example. How many years ago did people tell you all fats were bad?
Oh my gosh. 90.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And how about yolk and eggs are bad?
Yes.
Cholesterol. Cholesterol is all bad. Yeah. All of a sudden they're like, okay, so there's a really healthy cholesterol and eggs are really good for you, including the yolk, right? Even though Costco, now Costco had like this entire, we're just gonna sell white, just the white part of the eggs, the egg whites and all sorts of different products, and then you get into the nutritional side of it, and you're like, oh, wait a minute, the egg yolks are healthy. Or they're like, hey, to lose weight, you need to eat a ton of carbs and get rid of fats.
That's right.
So that was all science. This is doctors saying this stuff for years, right? Mm-hmm. So when people say, hey, follow the science, I'm like, that changes year to year. That's not, I wonder.
Isn't science
whose version of it?
Sciencey and
right? Oh yeah. It's like they're always like, we follow the science. I'm like, that has 2 points of view always. So what I went off of was just like, so here's some bacteria names that are associated with being lean. Okay. Mm-hmm. So Akkermansia is when a person has a ton of Akkermansia, like a huge abundance of that, they're lean. They just are. Prevotella, when they have a lot of that bacteria, they're lean. There are bacteria types. So here's something interesting. Do you know what determines if fiber in food is going to actually lead to weight gain? So everybody's like, if you eat fiber, you're going to be skinny because fiber is good, right? Not necessarily true. If you have a high abundance of Prevotella and you eat fiber, you are going to lose weight. If you have low abundance of Prevotella and you eat fiber, God bless you, you're not going to see jack from it.
Mm.
It's still good, but you're just not going to get the weight results off of it if you're trying to lose fat.
And would that fiber feed the bad bacteria too, or no?
Yeah, so fiber feeds all kinds of bacteria, right?
Mm-hmm.
So taking fiber in general is just going to, taking general fiber is going to feed all bacteria types, right?
Right.
Like it just will, like it feeds all of it. It doesn't go in and be like, well, we're only going to feed this, we're going to feed that. No, there are targeted fiber types and prebiotics that only feed good bacteria, right? Mm-hmm. Those do exist. But for a person who's trying to change, if you want to change how you respond to food, your appetite, and everything like that, you want to have a lot of bacteria that create a lot of short chain fatty acids.
Yeah.
Short chain fatty acids control the metabolism, they control cravings, they control appetite, like the satiety, like how much you want to eat and stuff like that, right? They control fat burn, mm-hmm. They control fat accumulation. So they're controlling all of that stuff.
So the short chain fatty acids are interacting with the thyroid hormones or the thyroid itself.
Yeah, what you'll find in almost everything, if you go and you study an issue or a condition, pick anything, leaky gut, which is increased intestinal permeability, pick anything you can think of, mm-hmm. and go relate that health issue with short chain fatty acids, and you'll find short chain fatty acids are always good. Like increasing those is always good across all fields. But specific to weight loss, when a person is producing a huge amount of short chain fatty acids, their appetite goes down. That's the science. And that's very consistent over the last 15 years in science. There's nothing out there that's like, so they used to have this study that was like, that Karan and I were looking at, he was like Bacteroides and firmicute rate, or firmicutes to Bacteroides ratio, right? And so I read all these studies on it. And then in 2021 or 22, I read one that was like, well, yes, when this is out of whack, a person is more likely to have weight gain. But there's nothing that says when you correct that people are going to lose weight. Does that make sense? So that's why I'm always like, you got to be real careful on the science. You got to look at both sides. But there's nothing anywhere that says anything other than when short chain fatty acids, acetate, propionate, and butyrate are in a high abundance. I think I said those right. But when those are in a really high abundance, people's appetites go down. Their cravings change. That's just the science.
So it's not that, well, okay, so let me go back for a second. So their appetites go down, so they're eating less.
Yeah.
And
they're satisfied with eating less. The body, when a person's bacteria is out of balance, it's triggering them to eat when their body's already said, we don't need anymore.
Right, and the leptin response is constantly, it's not working properly.
Yeah.
Okay, so because that's where people think intermittent fasting is working for weight loss, because you just can't eat as many calories in this shorter window. But it's really not about the calories, it's about proliferating that good bacteria that can only grow outside of a digested environment, right?
Right.
So then if it's that a high amount of short chain fatty acids goes up, then does that mean, and their appetite goes down and they're not eating as much, but they're getting more nutrients out of less food?
Correct.
And their metabolism goes up even though their calories are going down?
Correct.
So that's what's interesting in the fitness community, because it's proliferated, and maybe you hear this in your gym with all of your bodybuilder people, but they basically say, if you drop your calories too low for too long, your metabolism will tank. We have to increase our calories in order to increase our metabolism. And I never saw that it made linear sense that way.
No, when you're shoving when you're shoving the right foods into your stomach and you crave those foods, your body will tell you what you want. It's just going to be different than what it used to tell you, right? Like you really won't. I mean, you're not going to want to stop by Taco Bell. I guarantee you. Like whatever used to be your trigger, it's just not. That's not going to be that way anymore. Like it just won't. I know it sounds nuts. It still sounds crazy as I'm saying it, but nonetheless, it works because you're. So here's a funny thing. Let's go with this. Here's a lesson I learned. Bodybuilders are always like, if you want to gain muscle, you will eat, I think it's a gram of protein for your weight size. I think it's like, if I'm
pound of lean body mass.
Yeah, you're gonna, like, there's a calculation that says, like, for you to gain muscle weight and you weigh this size, you need to be taking this amount of grams of protein each day, right? People start measuring that.
1.2 is generally.
Yeah, that takes absolutely nothing into account for bioavailability. There's nothing in there.
It's compensating for lack of it, probably.
Yeah. So let's say that your diet has you have a really healthy gut, or you're taking a lot of protease and peptidase enzymes, right?
Okay.
Well, now your bioavailability on protein is significantly higher. Let me translate that. It means you're not crapping it all out, right?
Right.
And so when your protein usage increases dramatically, you don't need the same amount of protein.
Right.
You just don't need that. Like you can consume protein. And it's not to say I don't eat protein. I like protein. I'm just saying, yeah, it's just that when you're utilizing your nutrients effectively, so your bioavailability is higher, you don't need as much. You won't crave as much. You just won't need as much.
Nice.
Like it just won't. You won't. So my biggest problem with diets has always been, you start them and you're like, oh, I'm missing out on something. Like just craving for food is just, it drives you nuts. Like Chris, maybe you're driving down, you've been doing a diet for a week and a half. And you're like, I'd give my right hand for a freaking box of Reese's peanut butter cups right now, right? Like you just, whatever you needed to do for those Reese's, you're like, screw it, I don't care anymore. I got to eat this. That goes away. When that goes away and you don't need it, losing weight is easy because your body will be efficient with the food it needs and you just won't gain weight.
I would say that's probably the biggest thing that I've had sticking points along the way. Over the 2 years ago, I started out right around 370, 380 pounds and down to into the 240s now. But every step along the way felt like these big hurdles to get over. It was like I would drop 20 to 30 pounds and then it was like I would get locked in a zone trying to break through that next point. And it just took willpower. I think the biggest thing I've learned is just how much willpower I have, but willpower alone only gets so far, and it's really tough. It's aggravating. So I'm looking forward.
Like that the rest of their lives either.
No, you don't, and it's depressing. It creates all that anxiety of like, is this just going to be the rest of my life now? Is this like miserable state of I'm just gritting my teeth every day trying to get through, hoping that I finally get to the light at the end of the tunnel? So to start to understand things in this way, that's like, okay, if I just fix my gut a bit, then I'm not going to be going through this eternal struggle, and being able to see it as, oh, I can actually just enjoy food and not have, like you were saying, driving by the Taco Bell. Taco Bell is not my thing, but there's a dozen other things that I'll go through every day. And it's just little paper cuts of willpower every single day. It's like, I can tell myself no, but that's the fact. I have to tell myself no, tell myself no, tell myself no over and over. And it's every day.
Tell them what you went through yesterday.
So was more Monday. So so we had a whole bunch of stuff on Christmas, pretty much went to town, whatever was there. She was talking about the cookies. I had probably half a dozen of them. And a whole bunch of other sweets that were there. Come Monday, I had pretty much cut things off. By Sunday, and then into Monday, I had been, let's say, sugar-free for like 24 hours, somewhere around there. I crashed real hard because now I was also in my mind of like, I really need to cut this out and start getting back on track. So in my mind, I know no more sweets. And it was like a revolt from inside. And it was just all of it, like any insecurities that I had, anything that was felt anxious, and we're doing all this startup stuff. There's all kinds of work to do. It's like, are we gonna make it? Those sorts of questions just started coming out of nowhere. From noon till about 8 o'clock, I don't even think I made it till 8 o'clock that evening. It was just like I went downhill hard. Everything kept piling up and piling up and piling up. And I'm just like, what in the hell is going on? And I guess I kind of knew, like, we'd already been talking about a lot of this stuff, but it was coming out of nowhere. It was just coming from everywhere. It was like everything that could possibly go wrong was going wrong in my head, and catastrophe. And I'm like, okay, I just need to go to sleep. I just need to go the hell to sleep. Woke up the next morning, felt a little better, and then kind of climbed out of it all yesterday. Went better and better as the day went on. And really what I would attribute some of that to is just having this knowledge of, okay, this is just my gut being an asshole right now. And once I sort of get through some of this, it's going to get better. Because this had happened lots before, only I'd never really had an answer. So the way it would always kind of manifest before was I would start blaming myself. I'd be like, oh, this is just a problem with me. This is something that's wrong with me. This is something that I'm having all these negative thoughts and negative emotions, and I'm guilt and shame and apathy. And it's just like, I don't know what the hell is going on. Before not having any answers, you just turn it in on yourself and there's a whole bunch of
shame,
whatever you call it, this self-flagellating kind of, I'll never get through this, and then turn back to the sugar as the coping mechanism. Because as we kind of started learning now, that's exactly what it's doing. The bacteria is doing that too.
Sugar provides that dopamine hit for most people.
It does that too.
It's their go-to.
Yeah. And so starting to understand how, the sugar is really sort of gaslighting you from the inside and making you almost feel bad for not supplying it with its fix. I mean, it's your fix for the dopamine side from your brain, but then it's the bacteria's fix too. It wants a fix and it's not getting it. So it makes you feel shitty. And so, go ahead.
So here's something funny. So I'm everything you described, right? Like,
yeah,
you have if you saw my Instagram feed, my personal one, you'd be like, whoa, he has a problem. I don't eat small quantities of food. I eat massive quantities of food, right? Like, I don't go to a donut place and be like, I'll try one. I'm like, I'm going to try all of them. I'm going to order 2 dozen and I'm going to eat all of them, right? So when I started this program, it was interesting because Acacia was talking to me. I'm like, I don't do well on not eating. And she said, instead of telling yourself no, say yes. And I was like, what do you mean? She's like, you pick a window for you, date night, whatever that is, and you go eat whatever you want. You eat whatever you want, whatever it is, whatever is your go-to. Just you go to town. And that's like you're all week long, you're so excited for that cheat, so excited. Like for about 4 to 6 weeks, man, you're like, oh my hell, I'm going to take down food this weekend like nobody's business. And in about 8 weeks to 12 weeks, you're like, okay, we're going out on Friday night. Where do I want to go? 12 weeks and on, you're like, I don't know what I'm doing anymore. Like it just goes away. But you don't tell yourself no. If your personality is like mine, Chris, saying don't is like, you're going to go do it. Like maybe Alli's that way, but I'm bad at it. Like when they say, here's the speed limit. I'm like, hell no, I'm going to go at least 15 to 20 over that. So I'm just not good with no's. Right. And when it comes to food, saying no, it doesn't work for me. It doesn't work at all. Neither. I don't do well with it, but isn't it fascinating? If you went on and you just studied on your own, I sent like 1 million articles over to Alli, right, Alli?
Yeah.
There's a million. Yeah, there's like 1 million science reports on various aspects that all come to one conclusion. When your gut health is in the correct order, you're skinny, and when your gut bacteria is in the wrong order, you're heavy, right?
Yeah.
So how do you explain all of these super fit, unhealthy people on Instagram that are pounding Diet Coke for 3 hours a day and eating sweet as fish. So that is an interesting thing, because I live in that environment with my gym and friends, right? Those people, and I'm not saying they don't exist, because they do exist, but they are literally at the gym 3 to 4 hours. Literally, I'm not kidding. I'm not like they go in and talk. We're talking headphones on, a class, weightlifting, and another class. I mean, I'm not even kidding. They are not exercising. They are not exercising for 45 minutes like they say they are. And they are on the most restricted diets. They're
torturing themselves.
Alli, what do you call it when a person is like going through that? They're like, you have a psychological
body
dysmorphia.
Yeah, they have that. That's not healthy. Like,
no,
that's not good. So I'm not saying that a person can't be ridiculously fit and muscle through it. They do exist. I just don't think it's healthy, right? Like,
my question is, can they do that into their 80s? Yes or no? If no,
here's the funny thing, Alli. Let me give you a different perspective. I started doing posts at the end of last year on fitness posts, right? People were like, "You're making us feel bad because you're doing these fit people posts for all these gut issues." And I'm like, "What?" And they're like, "Well, you're shaming heavy people." I'm like, "Hi, fat person. I don't understand." And they're like, but these people don't need it. And I'm like, no. Fit people, I'm not trying to pick on women, but women, their biggest issue is constipation. Across the board. I mean, if I were to generalize, I can walk into a gym, see a fit woman and be like, I'll bet she's constipated and bloated. And I'm going to hit it like 9 out of 10 times. They're miserable as hell. They have the extension issues. And I mean, they are totally jacked up. Guys are more likely to get heartburn, acid reflux and stuff like that. They're not. Do you know how many bodybuilders we deal with? A ton.
Yeah.
A ton. And so they look amazing, and they do look amazing. I don't want to take that away at all. Like, they look incredible. And I'm not suggesting that they're not fit, and I'm not suggesting anything like that. I'm just saying, I don't think that's the best approach. And if you're some person off the street that's not going to dedicate their life to fitness every damn day for 4 hours a day,
which most people don't,
which they're not going to do, you have to address what's causing the cravings and appetite issues and slow metabolism. And that is all gut health.
That is. Yeah. In fact, I have a question for you, because when I was asking you about my daughter and her dairy issue, you said you kind of prescribed like a start with 2, then go to 3, then go to 4. And I said, what about the prebiotics? You said, no, not for a couple of months. And for me to do the same thing with gluten, like rebuilding my gut to tolerate gluten.
Yep.
So why that? Why wait on the prebiotics for a couple of months? Can you explain like your rationale behind like ramping up into that?
So let me be fair to that. There are prebiotics that a person can take that struggles with severe, like with food intolerance issues. Okay. Most prebiotics, if a person has severe stomach issues, that's just like pouring fuel on a fire, right? So you're throwing a ton of fuel on an issue to grow it. Let me put it this way. Let's go to a garden concept. This will make sense to you. So let's imagine you go into a garden and it's just in complete disarray, right? Like it's just overgrown, there's weeds everywhere, and it's just a mess, okay? And you're going to clean it up. What would happen if you went and just dumped a crap ton of really amazing compost on it? What do you think's going to happen?
Your weeds are going to grow as well.
You're going to have amazing weeds.
You're going to have amazing overgrowth and weeds. It's going to go amazing, right? So all I'm trying to do is say, let's call it compost, right? The power nutrients hitting at the right time is important. That's just not step one, right? But to be fair, because I'm testing, there are products. Here's one right now I'm testing. It's a baobab acacia gum mix. And that actually, the way it digests is totally good for people that have SIBO and IBS and IBD and severe gut issues and food intolerances. So it's not that it doesn't exist. It does exist. The average person is just not going to find it. I mean, you know how much research I had to do to find that combination of products for people that have SIBO, I mean, it's so difficult. And the average person is going to go online and they're going to go, wow, this prebiotic helps with bloating. And they have bloating because they have SIBO, and they're going to take that prebiotic and they are going to hurt. They're going to be in extreme pain. So all I'm trying to say is time and place, right? So with you, Alli, and your daughter, right?
Yep.
All I want to do is say, hey, let's help you be comfortable through the process, right? I'm not a big fan of, I mean, I sucked it up when I first started and I had gut issues and I had food intolerances. Cron was like, all right, let's do this, Bill. You're just going to muscle through this 6 months. The first month and a half is going to hurt like crazy, but by the end of 6 months, you're not going to have any food intolerances. And I was like, what goes on for the first month and a half? Well, you're going to have a severe die-off effect and you're going to be in pain. And it's just going to hurt. And so I took the probiotics 4 a day for 6 months, and it hurt to begin with. It just flat out hurt. Like every discomfort I had worsened. Really? Oh, cramping, bloating, diarrhea, constipation, skin irritations, headaches, flare. I mean, you pick an issue and it just went to town. And Cron was like, just stick with it, Phil, just push through it. And I was like, oh my gosh. And so I did, and it worked. The probiotics we're suggesting aren't lactobacillus and bifidobacterium. They're not making the problem worse, but you're literally dropping, if you put probiotics, even really good probiotics, say that you put really good probiotics into the gut, they're going to go pick a fight with bad bacteria. If you've got a really high load of bad bacteria, you're going to have a big fight going on, and there's a consequence. So we start people slow on stuff. We graduate them into it because we've just learned the hard way that it's so difficult when a person buys a probiotic, and they're like, the first reaction is like, oh my gosh, I hurt, right?
Right.
And you're like,
that's taking it.
Yeah, I'm like, that's actually a really good sign. Don't stop. Like, you can reduce the dose, but don't stop. They're like, it causes pain. I'm like, yeah, that's actually a good thing. That's bad bacteria being killed and toxins being removed. But I mean, the concept with, like, say, food intolerances, Alli, you're probably dealing with a lot of people with food intolerances, right?
Yep.
So what people don't know is that most food intolerances are just lack of either digestion's not happening fast enough. I mean, too fast is bad, too slow is bad, right? Mm-hmm. Or they're not producing enough enzymes to break the foods down. Okay. So let's take your issue with gluten, right? Gluten has a two-pronged problem. One is fructan, which is a FODMAP issue. Fructan is a component of gluten that can literally wreck people.
Explain FODMAP to everybody really fast.
FODMAPs are a certain type of food group. Unfortunately, that includes almost every food group. So, I mean, I'm just being honest. So people have SIBO and IBS and stuff like that. They're always told to go on a FODMAP diet, which removes 85% of foods. It's all dairy. It's a huge assortment of grains, a huge amount of legumes. So beans, all that are out. Fruits, like anything with like peaches, plums, apricots, those are all out. Tomatoes, I mean, they're just a ton of vegetables. Like, I mean, onions, garlic, out. So, but within those assortment of problems is something called fructan, and that's in the FODMAP category, and that's in wheat. And a lot of people think they have a gluten intolerance because of the protein in gluten, which is called proline. They actually have a fructan issue. So what we try to do with people is, if possible, without having to get into a ton of detail, I'm like, let's just go through. And I know what's going on because we've done this so much, but I don't try and like dive into the weeds with people. I'm like, let's just get you from point A to point B, make you feel good along the way, and then let you eat the way you want for the rest of your life, right? That's the goal. The goal isn't to have people, I mean, people need to be eating those foods and breaking them down because the benefits are there from it, right? Like, so it's tough because certain people, like when you and I talked, right, they're on a gluten diet and they've had such a bad experience with gluten, like it hurts, right? They're just like, I don't want to suffer from that. And I'm like,
back pain.
But there's a solution for it, right? It's a two-phase plan. Phase one is to break it down with the correct enzymes and the right dosing taken at the right time. Okay. There's quick fix during the process so that you don't have to like miss out on like eating with friends and stuff like that, right? And then there's the long-term solution, which is to build the gut bacteria in your gut so that you are producing the enzymes strong enough to break down protein.
Cool.
Like that's the answer. So, and when people go, you can't recover from celiac. My sister-in-law told me that over the weekend. Her kids all have celiac. I'm like, that's not true. And she's like, no. I'm like, I'll send you 20 articles on PubMed that says that's complete bullshit. That's not true at all. And she's like, what? And I'm like, I'm just telling people, you know, as a supplement company, I can't say heal, treat, or anything, right? I can't say that and mention my products in the same mix. I'm not allowed to do that.
Right.
But you can put IBD and all these other autoimmune issues into remission, and you can do it naturally. You just have to start in the right spot. So let's take most people that run into problems. Mm-hmm. Most people, here's very common. I tried a probiotic and it didn't work.
Yep.
Right?
Or can't I just go down to Costco and get their probiotic?
Yeah, I tried a probiotic and it didn't work. All probiotics don't work.
Right.
That's like going into a car dealership, buying a lemon of a vehicle, and it breaks down the next day. And you're like, all cars don't work. I'm like, well, yeah, the old beat up car that has 500,000 miles on it and is missing 3 or 4 belts inside. Yeah, that's true. That is not going to drive. That's true. Yeah. But and the funny thing is most people that start with us, I don't start them on a probiotic.
Where do you start them?
Well, most people, like Alli, if you were telling me like, let's say you have clients and they come in and they've got a combination of constipation. This, by the way, this is a majority of people. Because anybody with SIBO, IBS, IBD, severe constipation or constipation, bloating, acid reflux, heartburn, nausea, stomach discomforts, any combination of any of those things, their primary base problem is slow motility.
Oh, okay.
So what happens is their stomach acid production drops. A lot of people think they need to reduce stomach acid because high stomach acid is causing heartburn and indigestion. That's not true at all. That's just not true. That's not true. Their stomach acid is too low. Guess what your first line of defense when you eat food and stuff is going into your system?
Your stomach acid. Stomach acid.
So if you drop your stomach acid, do you know what does really well in low acidity in the stomach? Bad bacteria thrive like crazy in that environment. Guess what grows in a very acidic environment? Good bacteria. So what's happening is people come to me all the time and they always are like, people are behind a phone or whatever when they're messaging. So they'll say, probiotics suck, they all don't work. I'm like, well, did you take the right probiotics at the right time in the right place, right? Like, are you sure you're supposed to start there? Yeah, and the answer is no, most people started in the wrong place.
Yeah.
So if you and I are working together and you have a client person and they've got serious stomach issues, I'm most likely not going to help start with probiotics. You would be stunned. I put people on a 3-month program to increase their motility. It works. It just works. Like it is like clockwork. It works. So and they take it. What's that?
How do you do that?
I load them on the upper GI relief, which is artichoke leaf extract, gut guard licorice flavonoids. Most licorice flavonoids are bad, by the way. This version is a different version and it's like super good. And then I use a ginger root extract that has a really high level of gingerol. I high dose people on that for 3 months. Constipation goes away in 7 weeks, between 4 and 7 weeks. It's different for each person. Acid reflux, heartburn, indigestion, all that combination of stuff by most of the issues associated with SIBO, IBS. If you just start with motility, if you just address the motility stuff and the stomach acid issues up front, everything else moves real smooth.
Really?
It's like clockwork. It is the most, I mean, people think I'm like some magic magician because we'll start people on it and they totally think I'm full of crap. They're always like this. Not because they're on Pepcid AC, they're on all kinds of acid blockers, right? There's like There's like a million names for it. Nexium and Tums and there's a million acid blockers.
My toddler is on that.
Yeah.
He's been on that since
Pepsid.
weeks old. And I want him off because I know it's affecting his gut and I know that's affecting his brain. But I have been trying to titrate him off, and then he seemed to have the symptoms of acid reflux again. So he stops eating.
Yeah. So here's a funny thing. Do you know what makes acid reflux worse? Acid blockers. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why for long term. So what do I do to turn him around?
Right. So every one of our products you can pop open and just mix it in with food. Yeah. GI relief, because the ginger in it has a really high dose of gingerol. It's not a common ginger root extract. It's just not. Like, it's very difficult to get. But so because I always do everything before I suggest anybody else do it, right? Like, I have overdosed on every product we have. Like, you can't even imagine. So when people are like, I accidentally took 4 GI relief, I'm like, you're good. I've taken 8 in a mill. You're fine. Like, but so what you do is you pop open the capsule of the upper GI relief. You mix it in with his, how old is he?
3.
Yeah. You mix it in with some, what's that?
He doesn't chew, so he's most of his like chunky puree.
Yeah, just put it in with some yogurt.
Okay.
Pick a favorite yogurt type of his and mix a capsule in with that.
Okay.
It's strong, but he'll eat it. It's fine. Does that make sense? So that will get his acid production going again.
Okay.
And that's what, I mean, it was funny. We got into gut health, and as you know, we started with the probiotics, right?
Yeah.
And I told you my experience, like, Kron just loaded me up on probiotics, 4 a day, muscle it out. Phil, you're a tough guy. You're a big man. Yeah. Deal with it. And I did, and it worked great. And I was like, holy crap, I don't have food intolerances anymore. But when we started really getting into it, I kept running into all these people that had like heartburn, and I kept running into this conflict. Like, they've got heartburn, they've got acid reflux. They don't want to spend 6 months trying to fix that. But just they like, and the acid blockers are making it worse. So how do you fix that? Like,
yes.
How do you resolve that?
Off the Pepsid and do that at the same time.
You start loading them on the upper GI relief. Like, it so works. Like, anytime he even starts to feel uncomfortable, you just put some in some yogurt, have him eat it, and the pain will go away.
Okay, so I always give him a little meal. So if I gave him one of those capsules at the beginning of every meal, he should be able to finish the meal, and I could get him completely off of the Pepsid or go back to titrating off. Yeah,
I mean, I'm guessing his reflux and stuff is happening after the meal. Is that right? Like, that's.
I'm thinking so. Yeah, because it's like in between meals or after he's gone. He woke up in the middle of the night, like at 11 p.m. the other night, and so after he'd already laid down, and obviously that's when it gets the worst for a lot of people. And so he was just up for 2 hours just screaming, and I finally had to give him Zantac. And
so before bed, but let's just assume that he has that every night before bed. Okay, is that fair?
Yeah.
Let's assume at night he's going to have heartburn for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Okay, he lays down and it hurts. You're just going to give him a capsule of that and something he likes to eat. You're going to mix it in really well, and you'll have him eat that before bed.
Okay.
And if he has any issues in the night, like he starts to feel any burn at all, like any, Mom, I don't feel well, right? You're just going to do it again.
Okay.
Like it works. Like, right now, it's funny because I've got a friend that he's a big dude, looks like he looks like a professional bodybuilder. He owns the gym that Tiffany and I go to. He and his wife, actually, technically his wife owns it, but he has horrible heartburn. And he's been on all those acid blockers for years. And I mean, he's a perfect example because it took me forever to talk him into it. And he lives on upper GI relief right now. I've got him on the high dose. So, Alli, if you were to ask me, if you said to me, Phil, I've got really bad heartburn, some indigestion, stomach pain, bloating afterwards, and I'm irregular, right? I constipated throughout the week. Let's say that you said that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I would have you take 2, it's a lot of capsules, but it works like clockwork. I'd have you take 2 upper GI relief at the beginning of a meal for 3 meals a day. So that's 6 capsules. At the first sign of any sort of heartburn, acid reflux, nausea, stomach pain, you take 2 more.
Okay.
Immediately, that fast.
Okay.
Yeah, you're going to feel peachy. The problem is that people, like, by week 4 through 7, they're like, oh my gosh, I feel amazing, I can stop. And I'm like, just stay with it 3 months to make it stick.
You told me about one of the guys at the gym that went off of it.
I'm like, just stay on the 3-month cycle. Because what happens is after 3 months, motility's perfectly fine. They're fine. Constipation takes a while because that's a really slow motion issue. But that goes away between weeks 4 and 7. Constipation, bye. And it doesn't go away. A lot of people are like, so you're going to give me diarrhea? This is not what we're proposing. Is not a laxative. Laxatives make constipation worse.
Right.
If you look up lazy bowel syndrome or any of those issues, and you look up look up what causes it, overuse of laxatives. So go to a doctor and you go, I always have constipation. He's like, take Miralax.
Yep.
And so the person takes Miralax every day. Guess what happens?
They have
constipation. Yeah, now they're stuck.
Yeah.
And so taking the antacids too much.
Yeah, that you can't get off of it. And after a while, the Miralax doesn't work.
Right.
You've literally trained your body not to process food on its own. I mean, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
Sounds like my daughter needs this too. When I was talking about her nausea, it's like, oh, my stomach hurts. She's just texting me, my stomach hurts. I'm thinking, of course it does. It's always, I'm waiting for my shipment that I ordered from you to come in.
And the funny thing, Alli, is, I mean, you think as a supplement company, we're trying to get people on this stuff forever, right? That's not it. When a person's on the upper GI relief for the 3 months, they go high dose for 3 months, then they go normal dose for 4 months. And after that, they can do it as needed, right? Like if you go, like if you have surgery and they put you on pain meds and stuff like that, that'll slow digestion down. That can cause heartburn and constipation again, right? If you go on depression medications for the first 2 weeks, that slows digestion down. You need a high dose of the upper GI relief. A lot of women, when they travel, get constipated. I do not know why. I don't know why. I don't understand it. But it's like, but it slows down. We've got a ton of women friends that look like basically like Barbie dolls. They're like ultra ripped, right? Like super fit. And they all get constipated traveling. I always take an extra bottle of GI relief and I hand them out before meals and they're always like, we're so grateful. And I'm like, I don't know why you do this, but nonetheless, but it works like clockwork. But the goal isn't to have people on enzymes and all this stuff forever. If there was something I'd have people on, stage 2 and 3 is probiotics and prebiotics when taken at the right time in the gut health process. Yeah, that's the best way to do it. If you're taking the right probiotics and the right prebiotics, then that's the best way to prevent future issues with the gut. Because it's not like stress goes away, and it's not like you're going to not eat. I mean, even if Chris gets rid of all of his food addictions, he's still going to go to eat out with his buddies, and he's going to go get wings, and he's going to get a beer or something, and he's going to get fries. I mean, life happens. You just need to balance it, right? You're with just living normal life, you're going to do things that cause harm to your stomach. You just need to offset that with good things. That's it.
That's a question I have. So when your gut is in the right place, do you need to keep taking the probiotics every day, or will it just become one of those like only as needed type of things after a while?
Here's my question to you as a trainer. Once I get fit, do I have to continue to work out?
Yes.
There you go.
Or you lose it. That's what I thought.
But my point is once you've taken like your probiotics, for example, the ultimate probiotic, the Bacillus coagulans and the S. boulardii in it, right? Saccharomyces boulardii, those actually increase enzyme production, significantly increase enzyme production.
Okay.
So you don't need enzymes over time because the probiotics will have built up your own digestive capacity to break down FODMAP foods and everything else, which includes dairy, by the way. Like lactase, the best way to do lactase is to build your own. The second best way is to take tolerase L. But the first way is just to build up your own enzymes so you don't have issues.
Right. Like my daughter.
Yeah. Like everything. I mean, it's not like it's just doing it in the right order, right? It's taking gut health in the right order. I mean, I'm sure you guys do that with the health and the fitness side, right? You're not going to take somebody off the street who's never lifted a day in their life and throw 225 pounds on a bench press and say, all right, we're going to burn you out today. They're going to die. They would literally, you would have to spot
You're going to rub
them
your shoulders.
It's going to rip them in half. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's just not what you do. And it's funny because all these companies that are doing gut health, I'm always like, here's one that's fascinating to me. So many people have bloating, like just across the board. Like bloating is like constipation. It's just everybody has bloating for some odd reason. And so you'll see companies and they'll be like, we have one product that resolves bloating. I'm like, but there's 300 causes for bloating.
Yeah.
There's literally this amount of things that cause bloating. And you'll look at the product and it'll be like a scattering of some random enzymes, not full coverage, just a few in low doses. And then it'll have a few probiotic strains that if you research them, you're like, I don't get it. Like, what is this doing for bloating?
Mm-hmm.
So like the gut is complicated. If you address it correctly, problems go away.
Yeah.
Metabolism works, cravings change, appetite changes. You don't crave foods that you used to absolutely love that would put on weight. It goes away. But it's ultra restrictive. God bless people that want to do that. If you're a former fat person that's still like, I mean, trying to take away food from people and trying to tell them just to muscle through it, the data doesn't support that working. Isn't it funny? You have all of these exercise programs and eating programs, and not one of them addresses one of the key components, which is gut health. And you can go search it like crazy and be like, oh yeah, if a person has bacteria imbalances, they're going to be fat. But nobody corrects it. They're just like that. You get these trainers that are like, you know what? If you just bust your ass really hard and stop eating, you're going to get fit. I'm always like, wow. I mean,
I'm really proud of what we're doing here.
Yeah, like if you take a fat person like me that is a food addict, it doesn't work long term. Like I'm not trying to. I mean, here's the data on Weight Watchers. I think I sent you this. 5% of people keep the weight off with Weight Watchers. 5%.
Those sound like the lucky few or the willful few.
I think there are people
probably the willful.
They'll push through. Like we work with bodybuilders. I'm like, how do you do this? And they are so dedicated and so motivated, and it is their thing. They drive themselves to do it, and they are machines at it. And I think it's extremely impressive. But our country, if you look at the data from the last 2 years, 46% of Americans are overweight. Like,
that is crazy. The thing about it though is even though those bodybuilders are doing that long term and will sustain that mentality, there's a lot of having an understanding of psychology and some of those types of disorders. It's a disordered approach to food, right?
Yeah.
Where I'm going to be super restrictive. It's that they're so afraid of being fat that they will do anything to not be. So they go to that extreme to prevent it. So it's the opposite of an anorexic mentality, but it really is an anorexic mentality. So even though they're lifting weights, they don't look anorexic. It's still this, I'm too fat, 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 when you're clearly not. And it's really just a form of non-purging type of bulimia.
Yeah, and what I'm proposing, so Chris, this is interesting. So if you were to ask me when I started eating for Thanksgiving, right? Dude, nobody with a sane mind is just going to eat Thanksgiving Day and think they're going to take down 4 plates of food. That's insane. So it's not like I had back-to-back days, and I didn't worry about it. I just ate what the hell I wanted to eat because I just have stopped worrying about it. Like it changes. Like this weekend, we got New Year's, right? Friday's New Year's Eve. I'm going to be watching football games and I'm going to eat what I want. The difference is now what I eat is a little different because my cravings have changed. But if I would have started, if this was May of this last year, I would have eaten Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and I wouldn't have given a crap. What are you worried about? It's not, I mean, so when I say windows and like 80-20 or 80-15 and 5, that's that you're trying to do that most of the time, right? So you hit 4th of July week, you may have a day and another day where you're just not eating super healthy. But if you can get your cravings and you get your appetite under control, it's just a different experience. You don't fret it at all. You're like, I ate 6 cookies. I don't give a damn. You just won't care. Your body will respond to food differently, and you won't gain weight from it.
You know what's so exciting about that is the mentally freeing aspect. You can just have fun going to the gym and not needing to make sure that you like know how many calories you burned, because I've been there. I mean, today I actually I left my heart rate monitor off. I was like, you know what? Screw it. I don't want to do that today. And I think
people like Alli, I mean, I don't ever want to take away from people's tracking systems and pushing things because it works for certain people. Does that make sense? Like, like when performance is measured, performance increases. That's the data. So, and I like data, right?
Yeah.
And so I don't want to take away from that. I get when people restrict me from stuff, when I have to get super technical and it has to consume my life, like work consumes my life, my kids consume my life, running errands for my wife seems to consume my life. There's things that are super busy in my life. I really just don't want to freak out about food all the time. And it felt like whenever I was on a strict diet, I was constantly, I got to track my calories or carbs or proteins, or did I do this or did I do that? Or do I have this amount left? Or I was like, oh, and now I just don't worry about it. And I'm really leaning up fast now. Now, do I think I will get a 6-pack? I don't know, but I do see my abs now, which is kind of unique for me. I have not seen them in 25 years. So new experience. That's but cool. it does work really well. But I'm not starving myself. I'm not craving stuff. I don't need it. I just, my whole mentality changes. You couple that with a good training program and a healthy diet, and you're going to get results, period.
Yep. And they're going to be sustainable.
Oh,
forever.
When people prefer to eat healthy, sustainable, healthy weight management is all day long. It's just not difficult. Extreme
Same
diets
with the exercising.
What's that?
Same with the exercising. When you prefer to do it, when you actually look forward to it. Because I've had those days, and there's lots of days where it's like, I really don't want to go, but I'm going to get myself to go because I know once I get started, I'm going to be glad I went there. But then there's other days where I'm excited to go. It's like, I want to go to the gym. Let's go. Yep. And the more days of those I can have, I know I'm moving in the right direction, not just in terms of, because I don't think training itself gets you there, doesn't make that mindset shift for you. There's something underlying, like we're talking about, that really moves you towards that mindset shift.
Yeah. For exercising, I have those days where I'm like, I'm just dragging, right?
And that's going to happen anyway.
Yeah, and I learned from a buddy of mine that's a bodybuilder maybe 8 years ago. And I said, how do you get pumped up to go every single day? Like, how do you do that? And he's like, I don't. I'm like, what? He's like, Phil, I work out 6 days a week. And I have days where I literally come to the gym feeling like crap, like I'm just not in it. And he's like, and I'm going to do a 75% workout that day. I tell myself that walking in. Now, he said a lot of the time that 75% workout moves to 100% workout. He goes, but it does it on its own. He goes, so I go into it going, I'm just not going to kill myself that day. And that's kind of what I'm proposing on the gut health. Like it's when you start forcing something, when you make it not pleasant and not fun, or you drive it on days that you just don't feel it, it doesn't work very well. That's why it doesn't work well for exercise. I mean, I'm speaking for me, not everybody, but like with the diet, when Karan was just like, Bill, eat what you want during that window. I don't care what it is. I'm like, I'm going to eat 3 desserts. He's like, I don't care if you have 12. I'm like, what? He's like, you have 12. I don't care. He's like, for whatever you want to eat, do it. Knock yourself out. He goes, by week 8, you're not going to want 3 desserts. I'm like, oh yeah, I am. No, you won't. And I'll be danged. He was dead on. 8 weeks. I'm like, if I went to another dessert place, I think I'd throw up. I tried, Chris. It wasn't because of lack of effort, man. I tried. I had a plan, but it changes on it. And same thing with the gym. Telling yourself you have to go every day, it doesn't work. If you're like, I'm going to go really hard, but there's going to be days that just are, it's just a shitty day.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the days you just say, you know what, I'm going to go and I'm going to do what I can put in that day.
Yep.
And you'll find most of those days turn into 100% days, even though going in, you're like, I'm putting a 75% day in.
Yep. That was me yesterday. I was like, well, even a crap workout is progress. And
I felt that way today.
So sore this morning. I went, I didn't think I went that hard, but I can't really bend down and pick much up very quickly right now.
Yeah, exactly. It's, I think that the problem is with all health stuff is people, that mindset going into it is bad, which Al, you know way more of this than I do. I don't know the psychology stuff, but for me, going into things and having people slam me upside the head with, can't, you have to do this. I mean, the mental game on me is like, yeah, that's not going to happen. It just doesn't happen. But this concept that I'm talking about is for people that struggle with those issues. It's for people that struggle.
Which is probably the majority of people.
I think so. I mean, we've got crazy fit people we work with on gut health. I have to be really careful with because they're like, Phil, I could muscle through anything. And I'm like, well, yeah,
they're the 1%.
You're like a should be SEAL Team 6 guy. I get that. But that's just not normal for normal people. The average fat person walking down the street that struggles with how they feel about their weight and stuff, they're not doing well with people saying, you know what, just don't eat sugar for 3 months. You can only have 2 grams of sugar a day. That's all you can eat. And they're like, all of a sudden,
tune it out.
I gotta have some sugar. I gotta have a cookie right now. Where's my Sour Patch?
Yeah.
Where are my
That's actually the worst part. Is like somebody tells you can't have something, so then you're like, I have to get it in now. Before the diet starts. Or stuff like that. That's how I
assume that I'm going to tell them that, even though I don't. And I tell them, nope, you can eat whatever you want. And they're like, no. But I feel like once I get started, I'm like, we've already started. So it's too late.
Yeah. I mean, it's so funny when you tell somebody who struggles with weight, hey, just pick your time. You go to town, whatever you want. There's nothing, whatever it is, but just do it in that window. People look forward to that. But over time, the cravings, everything goes away and it just changes. But when you tell people yes out the gate, like, yes, what? You want sugar? Eat sugar. Done. But do it here. Plan for it. Be excited about it. Go to town. Like your mindset changes and you're like, nobody took anything away. They just said, do it here.
Mm-hmm.
And when people do that, and by the way, it's not like you all of a sudden day one go, yeah, that all works. It's just like you're just doing your best through the process. It's just, you do your best. If you don't get the intermittent fasting in 5-6 days, try 4. Maybe you try 5 the next week. If you've got like a work lunch and it's unhealthy, try to eat better for the next 2 days. Don't beat yourself up over the day you miss something. It doesn't work well. It doesn't work at all, actually. And if you just start telling people yes, hey, yes, just yes. They're like, well, I don't like to work out. Totally understand. Makes all the sense in the world. Sucks for most people. It's tough for some people. Just try to go in and do something that day.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, what?
Right.
Yeah, just
go
in.
For a walk.
Yeah, just take the program Alli gave you and do what you feel like you can do that day. Just do that. You watch. Most people will do more than what they think they can do going in, because the endorphins kick in from the working out. Mm-hmm. They'll start feeling good and they'll press themselves harder, and then the next day they'll push themselves harder and they'll have another down day, and it's kind of like the stock market, right? It's like up, down, but the slope on it, the trajectory on it is better. It's extreme stuff doesn't work. I see these people on these programs and they say, we're doing a 30-day cut. I'm like, oh my hell.
Oh yeah, those
don't work. And
No.
I gotta tell you, there's like
they work, but you just can't stay that way forever.
They don't last.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're
They
training
work
for a
different.
bodybuilding competition or a bikini, whatever competition, which I'm not training for that. I'm not training for a bikini competition, Alli. It'd be very interesting though. I could sign up for that and just pretend like I'm a woman. But
you can self-identify as a woman.
Yeah, I can go bald and with a beard and say, no, I'm a woman. But it what I find with it is these people will do these cuts and it like screws them up during that period of time, and they come off this strict cut and they go right back up. Yeah. And they usually gain 3 or 4 pounds on top of what they had before the cut. They actually increase off of that. That's just insane.
It's that's what I mean by that disordered thinking.
Yeah, I don't know why people push those. I mean, the stuff I'm talking about, Alli, is all these trainer people that are constantly pushing these 30-day cuts, right?
Yeah. Because it's good marketing and people think that that's what they need, and they go, oh good, it's only for 30 days. I can do, what did you tell Kieran? I can do anything for 30 days.
For 6 weeks. Yeah.
Anything for 90 days. But the problem is it's not, they go too hard, too fast, too extreme, everything. And they never get a chance to adjust to any of the success that they got. And their identity.
And real mindset changes can take anywhere from 6 months to a couple of years.
Oh, 100%.
Right. Especially if you relapse a whole bunch or you just have a lot of changes to make. Like it takes time. Yeah. The more years you've been off track, the more time it's going to take to reset a lot of that thinking. Yeah. But you're not going to do anything in 30 days, so it's worthwhile.
But what you can do in 8 to 12 weeks is change your appetite and cravings. You can do that. I have learned, and I was like a Rocky out the gate, having cravings on the weekend, having to figure out what I needed to change and tweak through the process, right?
Yeah.
But once you get the food side of it under control, the rest is easy. But I'm a total foodie. I've been going since April, and it's super easy. Like it's just so easy now. Like just crazy simple. And I'm not doing a lot. So intermittent fasting sucked to begin with, right? I was like, man, feels like somebody's telling me not to eat again. And Kron was just like, pick a window, Phil, eat here to here, and just it'll get super easy. Just stick with it for this period of time. And it does, it gets super easy, but it's not complicated. I ate a huge breakfast. I ate a decent sized snack, and then I ate a huge lunch. There's my plan.
Cool.
Super simple.
Simple plan, yep.
And on the note of simple, I'm going to, since we're almost 2 hours in, and we could talk about this for probably another 2, but I do have to get my son to his therapy session in about 40 minutes. So I'm going to say any final words for our audience about what I'm super thrilled to be back up with you again. Yeah.
Oh, I mean, if you start now, in 6 months, you can have a totally different experience.
This is perfect.
You start now, you grow into it, and it's easy after that.
This is the time to start getting ready for summer.
That's right.
For a lot of people, it's like, make that the New Year's resolution to look good for summer.
Yeah, and make it something you can do and stay with.
Make it easy. Yeah.
Right.
Easy. I'm looking forward to bikinis.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with my board shorts, but I think bikinis look really good on women.
And on that note, Phil, thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us today. I'm really excited about what this is going to mean for so many people moving forward. And
it works, Alli, I promise.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Chris. Good to meet you.
Yeah, good to meet you too.